Hey guys, for this service, we're going to be retouching this blonde, and she wants to be super icy and bright. And I feel like the best product for the service is Blonde Solutions, so that's what we're going to be using today. You guys can find me over on Instagram at Christy@thecottage.
Okay, so my client that I'm working on right now is coming in for a blonde touch-up. My hair is like tweaking out. She missed the last appointment that we had set up for, and so she kind of has a little bit of grow out, but even that being said, it still looks really good. The last time we did her hair, we just blended it really nicely. So she kind of looks like she just has a nice shadow root, which her hair naturally is kind of like a 7 ash. So it blends really pretty and it looks like kind of trendy with like the ashy tones. So I think because her hair is so light naturally and already so ashy, I'm gonna use my Blonde Solutions. It's very few and far between where I want to use that on somebody, either because I don't have the time to let it really sit and process, but I've got a few hours and her hair is already so light that I'm not really worried about it taking longer. So I'm gonna use that today. I'm excited because it's not often that I choose to use this just because it does take a while to lift. So sorry, now I'm up close and personal. I'm just grabbing my stash. So I think also I'm gonna use, I think I'll just use 20 volume because she doesn't have that hard of hair to lift, so. Okay. And the way that Blonde Solution says to mix, let's see if I have my, there's like, it's like 1 to 1.5. So, and I think I'm gonna do a little bit over. I feel like it kind of dries out. And that also could just be me getting used to mixing it still. You know, sometimes you gotta play around with things. So I think I'm gonna mix it a little bit heavier on the developer just to make sure it stays nice and wet. I don't wanna say moist. You know what I mean? I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna mix that right now.
So here's the Blonde Solutions, and it's kind of hard to come by. They sell out really quickly. You really can't get it in store, but I will put a link in the description for where you can order it. So I'm going to kind of try it and show you guys. In the bleach, there's different pigments, like little beads of like a red and blue toned. And then the developer is a very deep pigmented blue. And so all of those working together help tone the hair as it's lifting. But you have to be really cautious and make sure that you're mixing it very well, because if you're not careful, then it will actually color the hair those pigments if you don't like really get in there and blend all the colors together. So here's my clients before, and I'll touch base on what I'm talking about with the mixing the bleach in a minute. So to start her service, we're going to do her hairline foils, and because we're trying to get her nice and light, and it's been a while since she's been in, I'm actually going to do a little bit heavier foiling around the temple area than I normally would. I'm doing like a whole top foil, which I do like a full partial, and then I like to call it a top foil, which is basically from the ears and above for the most part. So normally for a partial foil, I would really just do like 2 or 3 foils in this area that I'm doing right now. But because we're trying to brighten her up quite a bit, and since it's been a while, I'm going to throw quite a few extra foils in there. Okay, so getting back to the Blonde Solutions, when you're mixing the bleach, you really actually need to not use a color brush when you're doing it, because some of that blue pigment will get stuck like at where the bristles attach to the brush, and through the application, that pigment will kind of come down into the bleach, and that's where that extra blue pigment, if it's not mixed correctly all the way, then it will kind of pigment the hair that color. So I always get like an actual like blender. What a whisk. Oh my god, I was like gonna forget what it was called. Thank the Lord. I remembered. So get a whisk and it takes about 4 or 5 minutes to really get in there and make sure everything is mixed up really good. And you'll know when the bleach kind of whites out a little bit. It will lose the harsh pigment of the blue tone. So that's when you know that it's mixed up all the way. If you are mixing it and you see like some blue swirlies and whatever still in the bleach, then you're not mixed enough and you need to keep on mixing literally like 5 minutes. So, that I just wanted to make sure I clarify all of that stuff. But you can see when I'm applying the bleach right now, like it doesn't look blue. And that's because it's mixed all the way. So, I'm just going to continue with the foil now. And I feel like it's easier to see on this side, so I kind of cut off the foiling on the other side so I don't bore y'all. So you can see better over here how really fine of a section I'm taking. This is directly on the hairline, but because this is such a fine section that we're going to be foiling, it's going to still blend really nicely with her hair. Like even with her hair clipped back, you can see how nice and soft. There's no harsh lines in her hairline as it's pulled back or anything. And that's because we're just doing really, really fine pieces of hair. These are really fine baby lights, essentially. So we're just going to do minimal subsection and just continue this back behind the hair all through the hairline, and they're just gonna stay really nice and thin pieces. That way there's no harsh lines anywhere. If you've watched my videos for a while, if you're new, I talk about it a lot, is I always foil my clients this way unless they don't want to have like a money piece or extra bright around the hairline. But if you foil more horizontally, that creates a lot of lines in the hair, those like racing stripes, and it causes like heavy lines of demarcation as the hair is growing out. So if you foil more vertically, then that helps eliminate those lines and it helps the hair grow out more as if the sun were to naturally lighten it. And so it looks a lot more soft and subtle, and the client's much happier with the grow out that way. All right, now getting into right on her forehead. I really love foiling her hairline because it's just nice and straight across and it doesn't have like a V shape or anything, so it makes it a little bit easier to foil. But you can see that the foil reaches all the way across and it connects to the foils on the side. So she's not going to have like any dark holes on the sides of her forehead with darker hair. So we're just going to do two really soft foils back to back. And then the third foil, we're going to do a weave and a back comb. That way it softens it up a little bit at the root and it's not too chunky of a piece just right at the money piece, right at the front. It's going to soften it just a little bit and give it a little bit of a shadow. If somebody has more of a V shape hairline or a rounded or whatever square, sometimes you have to like do one side and the other side. You can't always go just straight down the center of the front of the forehead, because if you like, you're just gonna, if it's like a V shape forehead, triangle shape or whatever, you're just gonna get that little point at the front of the forehead. And if you're just going to do like two foils, then all your two or three foils, and all you're going to get is that front point section, that widow's peak. So if you go from like the center and to the edge and then center to the edge on the other side, then you're going to get better coverage with your foiling and you're not going to have like dark edges. So that's like a little tip if you guys haven't tried that. Sometimes you just have to throw in a few extra foils by starting in the center and working your way out to the edges. So we're just going to continue doing our foiling, and now we're going to figure out where she parts her hair. That way we can make sure that we have good coverage there and start foiling through the top section of her head. I'm going to show you guys how soft and subtle these types of foils can grow out. Look at her hair. It looks like her hair just blends really nicely. It just blends into like a root shadow, but that's just her grow out. And when you do really fine sections and really fine weaves, that's the kind of grow out that you can expect to get. If you just go in there and do like a heavy weave, really thick sections, then you're going to have a little bit heavier of a grow out and they might feel like they need to come in sooner. They're going to have, you know, a heavier line of demarcation, more of a high maintenance color. But when you do just really fine foils and more of a baby light, then you can really get away with having much softer grow out and them not having to feel like they need to come in every 8 weeks. So we're gonna flip back over to this side of her head, and we're still going more diagonal, but I'm kind of angling it up a little bit more. That way, when we do the top, it will like, those foils will start kind of straightening out. So that way it'll be easier to start foiling atop the cross of the head. And you can see that we're going back quite a bit further into the back section of her head. So when we get to the back part, all we'll have to do is throw some foils just straight across the back and everything will connect to the sides. So I've thrown a few extra foils in, and you can see now that the foil is starting to even out and go a little bit more straight across. So when we get to the top part of her head, you can see here that now we're basically like perpendicular. So perpendicular, is that what I'm saying? Is that where it's up and down or side to side? Guys, I literally failed every type of science and math class. So if that's not accurate, then please correct me in the comments. But if I was right, then I just want to let you know that I'm kind of a genius then, okay? So you can see here that now the foils are going all the way straight across through the sides of her head. And so that way when we get to the top part, it's going to be a lot easier to foil. So now we're going to flip over onto this side and repeat the same process. Perpendicular. You guys, I'm not the genius that I thought maybe I was. I just looked up perpendicular because I had to know for myself if I used the right word, because then somebody's going to tell me and you guys are going to have to look it up and correct it. And I just want to let you know that I looked it up myself. And now I'm even more confused because I looked it up and now I just don't even know. And I don't even know if parallel was the right word to use either. So what do I use? Latitude and longitude? I know that's not right. I'm just being stupid, but I just want to let you know that I know that perpendicular was not the right term to use. You don't have to tell me, okay? I know that I'm no longer a genius and now I'm a dumbass. So if you even care, we're just going to finish these foils and continue working our way up the side of the head, and then we'll start straightening out to go over the top of the head. I'm not going to use any special math words. We're just going to go straight across. And that's that. All right, now that we're getting to the top section where the head starts kind of curving, we're going to start straightening out as we make our way across the head. And you can see that I'm still doing some really fine weaves, but we're going to do mainly slices just to get a little bit more coverage and brightness, but there's still going to be like little thin slices. So it's not going to be too heavy of grow out still. So you can see that we have a slice right here, but you can see through it. And a lot of people wonder, like, they don't get good lift. They're always stuck kind of at like a level 8 or 9, too much warmth still left behind. And that could be because of your sectioning. If you're doing too thick of a section, then you're going to have a lot of warmth left in the hair. So make sure when you're doing your foiling that you can see through the section that you're going to be doing. And that will ensure that you are going to have good lift. If the bleach isn't able to like saturate, I know sometimes it feels like it's really not that thick of a section, but even sometimes when I'm like just doing a little bit thicker than a Babylight, sometimes it still doesn't get as good of lift if it was just like a really, really thin piece of hair or a Babylight through the whole foiling. So if you feel like you're stuck at like a level 9 or not getting past that, then take smaller sections. And also, if you are doing like a full foil of Babylights, then you don't really have to take as much subsection, because then you're going to be left with too much natural left behind because you are taking such thin slices of hair. So you want to make sure that, like, right now I'm kind of getting close to where she parts her hair. So I'm taking less subsections and I'm going to start doing like incorporating some weaves in the hair too. And that's because I want to make sure that even though we are getting like doing our foils closer together, because I want to make sure wherever she flips her hair, wherever her part falls, even though we're on the same side generally, but I've mentioned this in other videos too, but like you don't always part your hair in the same exact spot. Some hair might fall a little bit over on this side or that side. So I want to make sure that I have good coverage wherever she parts her hair, but I don't want it to be too like solid of blonde. I don't want it to have too much of her natural left behind. So I'm doing less subsections, but I'm going to incorporate some weaves in here. That way she still has dimension, but because we're doing the foils closer together, if I was just doing slices through where she parts her hair, then she might be way too bright and have too harsh of a line of grow out. So if you incorporate adding some weaves in there, then it will just kind of soften it up a little bit and you won't have to worry about it being like too heavy. Okay, so at this point, we've kind of cleared the area after this foil for where she generally parts her hair on that side. So after this little foil that we're doing, we're going to start incorporating a little bit more of subsections again, and then also doing more slices. And look how nice, since we straighten up going across the whole top section of the head, then it kind of meets just perfectly right with the other side. And we don't have to like get any mini foils in there, or they're not like diagonal or anything. So now all we have to do is just go throw a few foils across the back and we're good. And this is about all that I do for like a top foil. Like if I feel like if you do a partial, some people do from the ears and up for a partial, girl, you could throw in 500 foils if you're doing a whole like baby light foil through the whole top section of the head, and you're gonna still call that a partial. That is still a full. Like that is a full amount of work that you're doing. So I feel like there's definitely a difference between full, partial, and like a top section of the head. If somebody doesn't really care about the underneath, or they don't feel like they need a full, but they want more coverage, you know, above the ears or in the back area if they wear their hair half up or half down, then I like to go with a top foil. A partial foil for me is really just doing 2 or 3 foils right at the temple, right on the hairline, and then just going across the top section of the head, whether you're going straight down the mohawk, which is a rare occasion, or just going right where, you know, the head starts curving a little bit and just doing that top section there. That is what I call a partial, and for me, that's like starts at $100. If somebody wants to do like a top foil where now we're going like basically the whole top half of the head, then that would start at 120. And then if somebody wants to do like a full foil, then that would start at like 150. So that's kind of how I do my pricing for those kind of services. Of course, you know, then there's the additional costs of like additional solution, $25 for a toner or whatever. So always let your clients know like that is your starting price. And then, you know, if somebody wants a full head, like if somebody's showing me a picture of a super bright blonde client and it's a full head of Babylights with minimal dimension, that's like an hourly charge of $100 an hour, because that could take 5 to 8 hours. And I just want to show you this really quickly. Look at my bowl. I'm like scratching the sides of it for my last foil. And isn't that the best feeling when you literally have just the right amount of bleach left for your last foil? It's like the most precious gift from God. Thank you, Jesus. So, this is all that we did for her top foil, pretty heavy still, and across the back. And now I'm going to show you the lift with the blonde solutions. We're going to pull these foils out, and you can see that the hair is kind of tinted a little violety, and that's going to wash out, but you'll be able to see like how nice and white the hair actually is in comparison to, I think last time I foiled her hair, I used Schwarzkopf, which is still a great bleach. It's still one of my favorites, but it just doesn't tone the hair like Blonde Solutions does. So look at that hair. It's like the lift is white in those areas. So this is the raw lift. I haven't purple shampooed it or anything, but I just wanted to make sure to show you guys because somebody came at me one time when I didn't show y'all. So here it is.
Okay, so my client, we just got done processing, and she's sitting at the shampoo bar right now with purple shampoo on, and she likes to be really bright and cool. So I think I'm just gonna tone her with like mostly like half and half 10V and 10PA, and then I think I'm just gonna do like a little, maybe like a quarter ounce of 9V, and then like a teeny little drop of rose gold, and that's what we're gonna mix with. I'm gonna use my Paul Mitchell, the Demi, with also equal parts of the processing solution.
So I used about equal parts of the 10V and 10PA, and like a quarter of my formulation was the 9V with a little drop of rose gold to make sure that it doesn't over process. So this is after purple shampooing before we tone, but I just wanted to show you guys so you can see like how yellow some of those areas are from like the previous bleach that we had used, and then how white the Blend Solutions is. So now we're going to start blow drying her, and you can see that she's nice and light. She has a little bit of her soft natural dimension in there, but the coverage is really good, but you can see that it's still very, very soft and subtle. So she's not going to have heavy grow out. So and that's the goal, especially when you're right on the hairline, because I don't want someone to feel like too heavy. And her money piece right there, how you could see she just has a little bit of a shadow there, so it kind of makes it a little bit softer. So here's her hair kind of back in the salon lighting, and then we will go up front and show you. And she was super happy about it, and obviously look how cute she is. She loves it. Here's her before again. Her hair lightens up really nicely, and you could see that the grow really isn't that heavy. And then here is the after. She was so happy with how nice and icy this is, and it actually blends really good with her natural tone too, just because her hair really isn't that dark. So even though this is really, really super icy and light, she's still not going to have that bad of grow out just because where her natural level sits. So if somebody has darker hair, then obviously it's going to be heavier grow out, whatever. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.